Hey guys, just a really quick random one, totally unplanned, which is why you've only got one camera to look at. We've made a few videos on our crime and emergency services in Japan playlist about honesty in Japan. We've got lots and lots of examples of that, where all sorts of situations where the honesty of Japanese people has been illustrated. So most recently, an old man left his flight bag with all sorts of important things, including a GoPro camera and all sorts of irreplaceable pilot things, in a shopping centre, and went back the next day to get it back because it had been left, that nobody had taken it. Basically, everybody had just left it where it was, and eventually someone handed it in, and it was waiting there to be collected, which was a huge relief. So I've made lots of videos about the examples of that. Recently, Tokyo Prefecture released statistics that said it was ridiculous. Can't remember what it was exactly, but it was tens of millions of dollars. It might have been $40 million, something like that, was handed in to police stations in 12 months. So in 1 year, last year, over 40, it might have been 40, it was tens of millions of dollars was handed into police stations, not in one lump, of course, lots of lumps. And it's because Japanese society is still very cash concentrated, so a lot of dealings are done in cash. It's also sort of fairly well known that a lot of people keep lots of cash in their homes. It's just a sort of a Japanese thing that they've always done, whether it's fear of earthquakes or something, having cash on hand or something, but it's fairly standard here that Japanese people have a lot of cash on hand in their homes and so on. And so because of that, obviously, tens of millions of dollars get misplaced every year and get handed in to the police, which is amazing, isn't it? When the Tohoku disaster happened, lots of safes got washed up after the tsunami, and all over the place they're finding safes, and again, people were handing them in, and they're opening them up and finding out who the owners were and handing them back to the owners, which is just amazing, isn't it? So anyway, having said all that, driving along on the way back from the dojo, all hot and sweaty and worn out, and happy that the dojo's opened again after such a long time. Just about to pull up at a set of traffic lights, noticed a lump on the road, recognised what it was, moved a little bit to the left, opened the driver's door, reached down and picked up this, which is a fairly nice quality leather wallet containing some credit cards and about $500 or $600 in cash. There's about 50,000-60,000 yen in there, big wad of cash, about $500-600, something like that, and a bunch of credit cards and a bunch of other stuff. So of course the first thought is, damn, I haven't got time, I've got to go to the police station now. We're going to say, I've got to take this to the police station. Automatic response, right, that you guys would have too. But got to be totally honest, have to be totally honest, full disclosure. Just this morning we were talking about, there's a bill that's pinned to our corkboard at home for $450, right, 45,000 yen. And we're talking about it today. I was like, what are we going to do about this? Can we leave it a bit longer? Let's leave this a bit longer, because things have been a bit tight. Things, the last few months, work's been like half of what it should be. So we've been struggling a bit. So just this morning there was a big discussion about the need of 45,000 yen, That's about 50 or 60,000 yen. So would be lying to say that it didn't cross the mind just for a moment. That would pay that bill. So anyway, on the way to the police station now, going to take it to the police station, hand it in and go away feeling much better. Not quite sure what the deal is here, as far as this sort of thing, handing these things into the police is concerned. But if it's interesting, we'll tell you about it later. If we don't tell you about it later, it means it was just sort of standard, take your name and address and thanks very much and see you later, Anyway, there it was. Okay guys, going to give you an update on the handing in of the wallet, because there's a few things that were totally expected and a couple of things that weren't. So, walked into the police station, said, found this wallet. Oh, thank you very much. Please, do you have a moment? Please take a seat. And he went and got a piece of paper, and sort of fully expected there'd be a form. There's always a form, isn't there, anywhere in the world in such a circumstance. So he went and got a piece of paper and came and and asked my name and address, where I'd found the thing, and then he sat there and took everything out of it, totally emptied it, and there was 53,330 yen, which is about $550, something like that. And the guy's driver's license and his credit cards and a whole heap of other stuff. So he wrote all that down and said, can you just give us a bit more time? And then he went out the back, and then he had to fill out all these forms on the computer, and I assumed it'd just be a handwritten form and just sign at the bottom, but that was obviously a silly thing to expect, wasn't it? So he had to go and do it all on the computer, and in the meantime the other cop had looked over his shoulder and got the guy's name and went and looked on the computer and found out the guy had reported it missing this afternoon, and so he called him and told him that we had it, and then the whole thing took about 40 minutes. He finally came back with his filled out form, and here's a copy of it, which I won't show you because it's got that guy's name on it and mine and a whole heap of other stuff, all our stuff, but basically 2 pages with an inventory of what was on the thing, where it was, and there's a couple of interesting questions. Do you want him to give you, or would you accept a reward? And I had been thinking, yeah, I'll bet he turns up at our house with a box of cookies or something, because that's sort of Japanese style. And it said, would you accept a reward? So I just said no. And so there's actually a box on there that you have to tick to say no, I wouldn't accept a reward. And do you want us to give him your name and address? And just said no. Just, there's no need, is there? There's no need for that. And I just said to him, kimochi dake, so just a good feeling, And so that was all good. So 40 minutes, sort of expected. There's no one else in there, by the way. It's Saturday afternoon, and there's no one else in there. There's just 3 cops in there. Incidentally, one of them was dressed really neatly in a uniform with his everything perfect and his gun and everything. And the other 2 guys, one of them actually looked like a maintenance man, and they were cops. You could tell they were cops. But the interesting, I'd never seen them dressed plain clothes like that, and really, one of them looked like a maintenance man. He was wearing the sort of clothes that you'll see workmen, blue-collar workers wearing here, which is a bit surprising. I hadn't seen that before. But yeah, the 3 of them. So they all 3 of them were working on it to get it done. One of them was calling the owner, and someone else did something else, and this guy was filling out the form, and they kept coming and asking me questions. So yeah, 40 minutes and a lot of faffing. Oh, and then they brought out a big plan of this area and had to show them, because there's no addresses here, right? There is addresses, but there's not street addresses that you can use. It's all done with intersections, the name of the intersection. And so what intersection was it at? So I had to tell him, I was near that shop, and then we found the name of the intersection. He wrote that down, completed all his form, got all his form done in the end, and then I just had to sign it. And all right, thanks very much, see you later. And he actually walked me to the door of the police station, and as I walked out the door of the police station, this really worried looking dude came running towards the door of the police station, and the cop said, oh, that's probably the owner. And the guy said, his name, and the cop said, oh, he knew what he looked like. He'd seen him on the computer, that's right. So he knew, he said, that's the owner. And as the owner came closer, he said to the owner, that's the guy that found it. And the guy's, oh, thank you so much, and bowing really deeply. And he actually shook me by the hand, which is a pretty strange thing to happen in Japan. People don't usually do that, of course. But he was so relieved. You could see, those of you who saw the video about the old man losing all that pilot stuff, that video that was made after recovering the pilot stuff, so really fully aware of how that guy was feeling, so relieved. So yeah, interesting experience. Probably not much different from what it would have been in another country. It was just interesting. There was a good feeling too. When you do things like that, there's always a bit of a good feeling that comes, isn't there? But there's always a good feeling too that you've that you've done something good for the team. By that I mean that, whenever foreigners do something bad in Japan, all of us wear it a little bit, because there's always people go, oh yeah, typical foreigners, and we sort of get painted with the same brush. We sort of, every time a foreigner does something bad in Japan, skips off without paying their rent, or, does a crime or something, it's always like, oh damn it, don't do that, because a lot of it's ignorant to assume that we're all the same, but a lot of people, it's human nature, isn't it? It adds to the bias against foreigners. So every time someone does something bad, it's like, we didn't need that. Our team didn't need that. So doing something good for the team sometimes gives you that feeling that, oh yeah, okay, that was, those police might come across some bad foreigners now and again, but at least, if this has happened, at least I'll go, no, well, there was that one good foreigner. There's that one good foreigner that did that thing. Anyway, probably too late to get into the shopping centre now and buy our parts for our house, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. All right, there it was. More videos coming soon.